We have with us Mr. Ramesh KV to talk about designing and delivering world-class customer experience, a business perspective. Mr. Ramesh is the Managing Director at Accenture and the President of the IIBA Bangalore chapter. He is very well known for putting forth innovative strategies and solutions to improve the business. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Mr. Ramesh KV. Over to you, sir.
I'm in this very unenviable place of standing between you and lunch. So first, my sincere apologies. So for people who have defined your hunger and stayed back, I have a little bit more responsibility to give you some money's worth. Okay, so I'll try my best. So let's get started. What can you expect? So just as a quick introduction about me, I started my career in an industry. I worked in a bank, worked in an insurance company, and moved to IT over 20 years ago. So my roots are from the business. I started my career as a business analyst myself, and then realized that between IT and business, there's a huge synergy that we need to drive. I've been in IT and business for many years. I've been a financial services professional, but now I have the advantage of looking at solutions in Microsoft platform across industries. And that is the insight I would like to bring to you guys. What I would not be talking to you today is about what technology to use, what tools to use, how do I go about building something from a technology perspective. However, I will focus on what sort of things can be achieved. My objective is to inspire you into doing things and how you can reimagine business, and see if I can decodify a little bit about what steps to take. Okay, so a little bit more practical on-the-ground experience of what you can do. Despite my many years of being away from doing business analysis myself, I find every opportunity to jump in and practice my trade. And so it keeps me a little fresh. So going on, so back in 2017, any of you here who have attended my previous session in 2017? Okay, some of you, excellent. So 2017, I talked about what's the new paradigm of getting customer experiences right. And at that time, using some of these techniques was still in its nascent stage. We still, as a business analyst, we will go back to the customer, ask them for what the requirements is. The customer will still give you some document. We use that document, put it into a different Word format, create some swim lane diagrams, put some charts together, send it out to the customer, and push for a sign-off, correct? And why do we push for a sign-off? That's to put a collar around his neck so that I can drag him everywhere I go, right? That was and the business analyst who could do that the best was promoted, and he became so good at it that he would teach all his juniors, including me, how to close the gap so that your customers don't run away. Okay, it does not matter how important it was for him, for the customer. And so even as this was in the nascent stage, we talked about how deep customer understanding, what influences buying behavior for your customers' clients, how do you connect to a larger cause, and how millennials and the Gen Zs, Gen Ys and Gen Zs of the world are actually having the money power to spend. And so what matters to them? And what matters to them is connecting to a social cause, and then identify and design customer touch points that customers love. How many of us really feel that we want to go back to a telephone company to inquire about something? How many of us feel we want to go back to a coffee day shop and have coffee? Or how many of us feel that we want to go back to that Inox theater? It was fabulous when I went with my family or went with my friends. I'd like to go back there again. Interestingly, when I walked down the from the Brigade Gateway gate to Sheraton. I was just trying to listen to my gut feel. How do I feel? I've been here a couple of times before. How do I feel? And Ashish is not here, right? And I can say I didn't feel very good. My gut was wrenching. And I don't know why, but I knew I was not feeling very good about it. And then I thought, why? Why am I feeling that way? Why am I not feeling good about it? And because the last time I came here, I didn't find the place. I didn't find somebody who could help me when I came here as a speaker. I couldn't fit my things. I went around looking for people a couple of times. My schedule was getting late. There was a whole lot of things which bothered me. And I gave a lot of feedback, including managing speakers' time, right? And the net result of it, though I had a great session with the participants, I felt very, very strongly uneasy. How many of you feel like that when you approach any customer service? How many of you feel? You know, when you see, all of us feel that, right, as business analysts? And that's how customers feel when they're using any service. And it comes very naturally. And in the regular business analyst world, we are taught not to think about that. What are we taught? We are taught to identify. What did the customer say? He didn't say that. Oh, don't include in the document. He didn't say that. And then you use exact verbatim words that the customer used many a times. But these days we can't do that because things are very, very different. Okay? So the businesses are changing, business models are changing. So identify touch points that customers love because you're looking at an experience of the customer and what they're looking at. And then finally, look at technology choices and how you can use technology choices to deliver. Okay? How many of you, let's be honest, when you're designing a system, when you're gathering requirements, etc., first thing that comes to your mind is the solution part. Before even listening to what the customer says, you're jumping at the solution. How many of you feel? I know some of us are nodding our heads when we were in sessions. I had to hold him back. Hang on. Let's talk about the pain point of the customer. Let's listen to the customer. We had to define the problem of the customer in the words of a solution. Can you beat it? How many of you have fallen into this trap? You know, people who have fallen into the trap and don't recognize bad news for you. Okay? People who have fallen into the trap and recognize it, that's the first step in awareness, and that's a classical trap to fall in. So, the paradigm has changed, and we heard Mr. Desai and Mr. Krishnan talk about how you listen and how you observe and how do you, go for the need behind the need before you apply a solution. So what's happening now in 2019 for us? One of the things that is happening is we are being bombarded with data, bombarded with notifications, bombarded with information, bombarded. There's this huge distraction that is happening. How many of you have heard of this book called Digital Minimalism? How many of you have heard about the fact that the technology geeks who actually created some of these designs in iPhone and Google and other things, they don't send their own kids. They limit device time for their own children. You know, you must read this Fjord Trends of 2019. And one of the big things is now we are beginning to feel that as a customer, as a consumer, somebody is just distracting me from what I want to do. We find it of our children, but it happens to us. And it is such a big thing to have a digital detox. And this is happening, hijacking our minds and society. And there's some very, very serious research, very serious design going on how we should be designing products and solutions. Do we really invade into a customer's experience? You know, you may invade and throw him 20 SMSs and 15 mails and many notifications. What are you doing to that person? I mean, you think that person is going to be, the customer is going to be feeling good about you? The answer is no. So we heard in the previous session on how can you be insignificant, how can you work from behind the scenes and still deliver good experience? When can you do that? Only when you put the customer in the center. So there's a huge issue going on about how digital technologies are invading. But there's another problem there on the other side. When we have to personalize, so there is a huge thing about personalizing experiences for customers. Just imagine how hard it is for any business to even identify customer segments, right? Identifying customer segments and tailoring products and services to that customer segment. We are all business analysts. What will we go in for when we have to design solutions? We look for who has got the highest spending power. We look for who has the maximum impact, who is the biggest segment. We cut the segments and we design solutions for 80%. Correct? We all did it. And we continue to do it. But now we have tools that we can go into individualization, which means we really don't have to get into customer segments, but you can look at a client as a persona, which means it leads us back to the other thing on how underrepresented voices for generations together, be it women, be it the minority from a religious minority standpoint, or even gender diversification or sexual orientation. These segments of the society have never got represented. Their voices never got represented because we did not have the tools and solutions to make individualized, personalized solutions. But there is some good news at the end of the tunnel. So I started looking at it from the fact that I understand services industry well. I understand banking, I understand insurance. I sort of understand that almost intuitively on what services are happening, etc. Then I wanted to ask this question. What does it mean to manufacturing companies? How are they approaching customer? What is their view of customer experience? What do they want to do? How do they approach customer experience? So I dipped into a fabulous piece of work called Accenture 2019 Industry X.0 survey. Accenture has done a set of surveys across multiple industries. And then I realized, a majority of the work on innovation and innovative proof of concept projects are being done wherever there is a customer interface. Either is a product design or a service design or sales and after sales service or continuing customers engagement. That sort of led me to a little bit more curiosity, and I said, okay, so what does that mean? So how did you deduce? And there's a huge, each one of these are reports, I'm sure it's available in Accenture.com. And when you dive deep into the reports and dive deeper, so what does it all end up in? And all consumer goods companies are all looking at engaging customers through a unique and personalized experience. Every customer through a unique and a personalized experience. Imagine if you can deliver that. That seems to be the call of the day. Then I said, okay, is this only for consumer goods? How about life sciences? If you look at life sciences, again, it is unique, personalized experiences. I dug deeper. How about aerospace, manufacturing, aerospace and defense companies? Nothing different. Exceptional customer experience. I don't know what that. Chemicals. What happens to chemical companies? It's very, very similar. Everyone is bothered about providing personalized, better product lifecycle management companies. I looked at high tech. And these are real, very serious research conducted across multiple countries, about 40, 50 countries, 2,000 to 5,000 CXO level people, customers, clients of different levels, each one in different industry. Okay? And mining companies, resources and mining companies. But you will see that across the board, even in manufacturing type of environment and manufacturing industries, customers and clients are obsessed, businesses are obsessed about delivering high-end customer experiences. So the business case is very, very clear. Service industries is given. The manufacturing industries are also worried about it because that's what they want to do. So what is in it? So that roused my curiosity and say, so So are there great examples that we can look at across the board? So I went from industry to industry looking at it. Golden State Warriors, a basketball team in the US. What are they interested in? Who are their customers? Carnival Corporation, and I'll talk a little bit in detail about these two. Alibaba's retail, the future of retail. How many of you have had any look at Alibaba retail? Fabulous, right? I mean, the way it goes is you can choose to do your retail purchase. So earlier, in the earlier days, either you go to a retail store or you buy online. These are the two options. You buy online, you'll get a impersonalized packet that will come and get delivered in your door. But these guys went a little forward and they said, I want to shop, but I don't want to shop everything. I have 50, 60 things to shop. The mundane things I don't like to shop, I'll get it delivered. And the ones which I really want to shop around, touch and feel and talk and meet and greet and wear and try out certain things, I want to go to a store and try it out. And so Alibaba's Hema actually allows you to do both. And once you purchase, so you will see that just like you spend time going from one aisle to the other, from one corner of the hyperstore to the other and picking up things, that job, in your app, you say that these are things that need to be delivered at home, then a store assistant or something is actually on your behalf going and picking all these things and putting it into your cart. And at the end of the day, your stuff, your things that you have picked up during your 1 or 2 hours of visit in the store, plus what the store assistant you have outsourced, gets together in one common billing, and then you choose either to get it into your car or get it delivered at home. So this was a segment that was for a long time not looked. Nike. Nike has a store in New York where you have every store, every shoe, everything that you do, every accessory that you have, you can actually wear, you can customize, you can feel. You have a AR, VR type of a experience of looking at it. If I wear it, how will it look? If I feel. These are the whole experience of buying, wearing, and how do you, especially when you buy shoes, once you buy expensive shoes, you're locked for it. You never buy another one for the next few months or years, right? So the House of Innovation actually they built whereby you can deliver those sort of experiences. Then you feel like going back to Nike to go and buy. How many of you have heard of Airbnb? Okay, so you must go on Google. So Airbnb is a spoof on Airbnb and says that, so they're a new startup who wants to travel to places and destinations and live in places which has a very strong moral compass. So if there is a hotel or a location which is actually doing a 360-degree rotation of their waste, they are managing their waste. They have built that place with natural materials, sustainable materials, or part of what they do goes to charity or to the local community. Things that you care for as the Gen Zs and Gen Ys do. So Airbnb is an Airbnb with the type of a social cause that we care for. And there are many travelers who don't want to even go on a tourism with and leave a carbon footprint. How many of you saw the latest, that English teenager who's going all the way from London to US on a ship because she doesn't want to travel by plane and she's a climate change activist, right? So the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys are deeply connected to a cause and want to work with business which is committed to the cause. And many of us, when we do responsible tourism, we want to go to the Himalayas, we want to go to an ocean, but we want to come back after enriching the place, not by depleting the place. Okay, so Airbnb does that. I think some of these are great examples. Stitch Fix is another great example of a personal styling service. It's been in business in the US for some time. Basically, it says, you can share, when you're comfortable sharing your measurements, so the personal stylist will will sort of take these measurements and they'll come back to you with depending on your profile, your style statements and things like that, on what sort of materials that you should be using, what sort of a dress you should use. And you know what? They'll send you 3 or 4 dress materials to your house. You pick the one that you like, which is narrowed down, curated one, stitched and chosen for you, and the one that you don't want, send it back. Send 3 of them back. You want one, you get 4 at your place. And you know what? They charge $20 as an additional shipment fee. So, when you buy online, one of the challenges is you buy it and then there are huge returns. They've said returns are, Amazon, they curse people when they return, right? Or Flipkart, they curse their customers. But these guys says, I'm not going to curse my customers, I'm going to love them. You know what? I'm going to give them choice. Let them take the one that they want and return the one they don't want, okay? So, very, very innovative. How did they come to know of all these? These were all very latent requirements. How did they come to know of this? When one part of the business says 30%, in fashion retail, I understand 30% of the goods sold are returned. And there's a huge returns management thing, and it doesn't get paid. It's a huge drain. And so, let's go a little deep down and get you to think about how some of these things have been done differently, okay? Can we roll the video? This is about a basketball club, and see how this club has tried to manage its client experience.
A storytelling technique often found in action thrillers or sporting arenas. But this time, it would be found in a rather unlikely venue. That clock began ticking May 22nd, 2012, when San Francisco city officials and media members gathered for the announcement of the Golden State Warriors' new state-of-the-art sports and entertainment complex.
I have looked at every arena in this country. Personally, so has Peter. We have toured them all. But I can assure you, this venue, this district, will be absolutely incomparable.
So the Golden State Warriors partnered with Accenture to add the Warriors' vision of an incredible venue.
We're going to be owning and operating a world-class facility and district, and partnering with Accenture helps us go from point A to point B.
That point B would be reached with the help of Reveal Week, 5 days announcing top-tier performances coming to Chase Center to help ignite fan excitement for the new arena. But the design for ChaseCenter.com's Reveal Week would be found off the hardwood.
The aha moment was actually when I was at the Ferry Building waiting for a friend for dinner, and I was watching the board and I was mesmerized by how numbers were ticking down. And it reminded me of the YMCA, how they used to use paper flipboards. And it was those 2 bits of inspiration that really drove the countdown.
But behind each day's countdown was a hidden Easter egg that kept users hooked on the reveals of one big performer to the next.
We really just wanted to engage users because these countdowns were up for an entire week. So we wanted them to be able to come back and engage with it some more and try to figure out who they represented.
Weaving together arena events, district findings, and Warriors content into a single vision that kept users engaged. This vision was dubbed Sleek Immersion.
Sleek Immersion is really photo-driven. It creates almost this entertainment feel that really brings a user wanting to experience and discover more.
What's really exciting about our relationship with the Warriors is that we're helping them to reimagine what the fan experience should be.
Please welcome to the stage, from Metallica, Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield.
The new design proved to bring a fresh sense of enthusiasm to a hungry fan base.
A mantra must be, don't settle for the good, go for the great. It's showtime. Godspeed.
So imagine a basketball team wants to turn into an entertainment company. Why? It's all about experience, right? They just focus. You saw one thing. It's about focusing on an experience of the fans. That was more important than how I run my club operations. Right? Let's go, let's move on. So this is about, one sec, is about on a cruise ship. How many of you have been on a cruise ship before? Okay. So the problems in a cruise ship is you don't have a mobile, you don't have a phone, you don't have connectivity. And these cruise ships are huge. They're huge, there are basketballs, there are courts, there are 9 decks. You can go anywhere, there are discotheques, there are bars, there are restaurants. You can get lost. And you're there for 7 or 8 days. And if you go as a group of friends or you go as a family, individually you just get lost. And then you have to ask, and it's very hard to even coordinate timings, right? That's a problem statement. Look at how Carnival Corporation looks at how to solve this problem. So what impressed you in this? What problem did they solve for? Okay, between? So a simple innovation of using a medallion. A medallion is something, it's so nicely done and how beautifully crafted, everybody loves to wear it. First. So touch points customers love, number one. Number two, when you notice that you cannot communicate services, how you want to order from anywhere. You're in some corner of the place and you want some food to be ordered to wherever you're sitting in a group. So you can use the medallion to be able to access any services, any of those points. You want to coordinate with your friends, you can use the medallion. You want to go from point A to point B, you can use the medallion. You want to go and search for services, you can use a medallion. So the medallion was used as a proxy for a mobile phone, which we have now pretty much taken for granted when we are on land. Right? When we are on land, we're totally connected. Now it's sort of given. What's the big problem? What are we trying to solve for? But when you're on a cruise ship, it's a huge, huge, huge problem. And now you're now parity. Now you've brought parity between land and water. So you can deliver all those services that you can deliver on land, on sea, in the middle of the ocean. Okay? So that's a huge step up for the cruise industry. Finally, I want to sort of get to this particular thing about coffee shop experience. And we always, I think as business analysts, in working in the IT industry, we are always compared against technologists who do data science. Learn this technology, and I've been in this BA conventions now for 7, 8 years, and the questions don't seem to go away. As a business analyst, what technologies must I learn? What is the role of a business analyst? How do I do? I'm always compared against it. My technologists are always saying, show relevance, show your chargeability is not good enough. How many of you have heard this? I set up the business analyst practice in Accenture, okay? And the first few years I was listening to all these cries, and to tell them, don't worry, life will be better. You don't have to compare yourself with the technologists, right? But you can do something very different. But now there is something very new. And I'm going to arm you with something that will make you good. Okay? Let's roll the video.
In our previous video, we explained how service design can help a coffee shop create unique customer experiences full of surprise and delight. But this is not where the story ends. To help our coffee shop continue to grow, we need to introduce two key players, data and design. Meet Data. She's a curious investigator. She has an analytical mind which can translate the seemingly incomprehensible into something insightful, logical, and useful. Data loves to collect information and examine it. She classifies that information using various characteristics and can spot interesting patterns. She then builds the tools needed to store and group her collections, making them easier to find and call upon when she needs them. Meet Design. He's an empathetic observer. He enjoys getting to know people and developing an understanding of what makes them tick. He explores how they spend their time, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what delights them, and what frustrates them. And he examines how they make decisions. This allows design to imagine how everyday lives could be made easier, more rewarding, and overall, better for everyone. For many years, data and design have been fiercely independent. They may be friends, but they've always chosen to solve problems on their own. When working this way, data would come up with fascinating facts and patterns, while design would build future visions for a better world. Let's return to our coffee shop and see how design handles problems. While helping to create new moments of delight, design makes personas based on conversations with existing customers. He invents a varied selection of fictional characters to represent their lifestyle and decision-making influences. He matches potential experiences and products with certain personas. Design will think about what makes a customer choose the coffee or product they buy. Say, for example, a black coffee to wake them up, or a frappuccino to treat themselves. He will understand how the customer feels in each scenario and what they need the most. Now, let's see how data would look at this differently. Data can match behaviors and needs with the right products and services. She knows when the customer is at work and when they're traveling, and she'll learn the difference in their coffee buying habits. She knows when a customer steps out of their home at 7 AM on a Tuesday, they're going to work, and can forward their regular black coffee order to the coffee shop for a quicker service. She also knows they only order a frappuccino on Sundays, so it'll provide relevant deals for that day only. But what happens if we give these two problem solvers the opportunity to work together? When data and design collaborate on a shared goal, they interweave their unique skills and instincts. They bounce ideas off each other and solve problems using a holistic collection of insights and information. The services they build together have the intelligence and understanding to morph into whatever each customer wants or needs. Together, they can use different information to provide impactful recommendations to improve the customer's day. For example, Data has access to the customer's calendar through the loyalty app, and she can see a 7 AM business meeting. She can also see the emails of people in the meeting who have signed up to the app too. This allows design to recommend everyone's favourite coffees to be delivered for the meeting to combat 7 AM tiredness. This provides an extremely personalised moment of delight for all the customers and builds the relationship between those customers and the coffee shop. Bringing together data and design results in services that surprise and delight customers. At Fjord, we describe these services as living services. And this is the next generation of service design.
Fjord is a Accenture company. So I want you as business analysts to go back and not feel bad about it, right? You don't know, you can't master technology. That doesn't mean that's the end of it. Technology has been around for some time. It's not solved all of the world's problems, right? As business analysts, you guys can become good designers. It's natural for you to be good designers. And what thing jumped out of this thing? What is data? What part of the brain is data using? The left part of the brain, analysis, breaking down, logical sequence. And what is design using? predominantly. The right part, when you mix the right and the left is when you deliver high, great experiences, okay? So as business analysts, you guys have been pushed to learn technology, okay? So been in discomfort situations. But you know what? There is one strong area that you guys have that you can become good designers because you can feel and touch and instinctively empathize and understand that where the customer is feeling good or bad and then bring those experiences together. What are those techniques that are there to get you to feel that? And I can tell you, we have worked with a lot of technologists, right? They don't feel it. They just don't feel it. Oh, you guys are warm and fuzzy, you're talking about loosey-goosey stuff, but you don't feel the discomfort that that person has because it's not part of a syntax. But anyway, but there's a great role that business analysts and designers to play in delivering and designing customer experiences. Got it? Okay. So let's move on. And so we can no longer do this problem. So we know what the problem is when you build systems and applications and solutions in a conventional way. But you know when you're co-creating with clients, when you're using techniques that designers use, when you use techniques like design thinking and you're co-creating and co-innovating and feeling and sensing and bringing experiences together, you don't go wrong too often. Why? You're on the side of the customer. The customer is on your side. You're not building a huge project over 18 months and 24 months. How many of you have been on the receiving end of implementing large projects? How many customers have blessed you when you rolled out? Okay, we all know that. But when you use design thinking methods and you use customer experience design, you know what he likes and what he feels, etc. You know upfront even before you have built the solution, right? And if you have appropriate commercial models other than the staff org model that we are all famous for, you can build great solutions to customers, solutions that customers love. So we have established by now what industry needs. We have seen players who have been, in the front end of delivering great experiences. So then we'll talk a little bit of technology because many of you are in the technology world, right? So what are market moves that are happening in the technology world? Many of you would have seen this, right? Adobe, a leadership role in Experience Cloud, Adobe Experience Cloud, Experience Design, Creative, the whole aspects around creative is something that Adobe. So I would recommend as business analysts and budding designers to have a handle on some of these design creative capabilities. And then Microsoft. Microsoft, if many of you know, for many years has built products which were industry agnostic. But they have made under Satya Nadella a huge strategic shift of moving from a technology agnostic player to a technology industry specific player. And that's where there's an Accenture play out there. But just not that. Look at the amount of partnerships that are happening across the spectrum to deliver experiences. Everyone, every major player, every major customer wants it. We have seen every major IT player wants to become good at it. Have they become good at it? The answer is no. Do all the IT leadership in the IT industry really believe it? The answer is no. Do they want to believe it? They want to. But do they know how to get there? Maybe some of them, maybe not all of them. But that's where I think, as business analysts, you guys have a role to become budding designers and to make use of this opportunity and swing it your way. Look at how many acquisitions are happening. I just picked a quick sample to look at. Some of the big players. I mean, this is just smattering. Everyone is acquiring capabilities to deliver these customer experiences, right? And so, what do we do? First, the first job, if I have stood between you and lunch, is to inspire you to do something. That you guys have the ability, go look for inspirations. Don't go and look down the inspiration for inspirations with a 20-year-old technologist who will look at what is the coding guideline. You can't get inspiration from there. Go look for inspiration where you got to. Stay inspired. I want to give you how many of you heard of the circular economy? Okay. So circular economy is about connecting to a social cause. Elon Musk, many years ago, wrote a small blog. I would want you to go and take a look at it, right? He said, I want to build a car, an expensive car, but with a low volume. Point number one. Point number two, I want to build a less expensive car, but with more volume. Point number three, I want to use that money, the first one to the second one, I want to use that money to build a high volume, very inexpensive car, and then make sure that it's all driven in a sustainable way without using fossil fuels and things like that. And he wrote this 10 years ago when he wanted to do it, and see where he's landing. And at the root of it was a continuous, the circular economy, that anything, and we don't have to teach this to Indians, right? The circular economy, you don't waste. We have learned wasting only from the industrial world. We never waste anything. Anything that is taken becomes an input for the next thing, right? You compost at home. We have used all the, we've come, even electronic goods, we figure out a way of using it in some way or the other, right? There's nothing called waste. It's a circular economy always in ancient India. But we are sort of coming back to that. I also want to take you to another important thing here to stay inspired. When I say that we are going to build a home of the future, what comes to your mind? Alexa, IoT. What else? Intelligent homes that will know what to do before you ask for it. What else? Robotics, robots running all around the house. Green? Green buildings. What else? Sorry? Peace. Why is it the last thing that we are saying? But he's right. Few did a study of homeowners all over the US and many other places. And they came up with some startling results. Home is a place where I need to be comfortable, I want to feel safe, and I want to feel at peace. If technology helps me, great. If it doesn't help me, ditch it. Okay? And they found a fantastic dichotomy. And they said, look at this, right? If it has to be safe, I would like it to be safe, but on the other end, I hate it when it's intrusive. Two sides of the coin. I like it to be lazy, I like it to be easy, the technology to help me easy, but I don't want it to make me lazy. I want it to be fun, but I don't want it to be addictive. I fear that it's going to get addictive. I want to be in control, but I don't want to be dependent. Which requirement documents can capture this? And the whole connected home industry has gone the other way and missed out. And you know what the study says? 65 and above, what do you say? You write off, no technology. But you know what? It turns out they are the ones who firmly believe. Once they figure out that it works, they are the biggest supporters of technology because it fits into their routine and it gets things done. The youngsters don't care. If that's not there, I'll go for another one. So I would encourage you to look at this. This fundamentally changes how we look at for inspiration, right? What completely different way that how the industry, so move from being a technology-driven solution, that's what it tells. Home and this thing is an attitude, living is an attitude, it's not a technology solution. So the technologists ran away with what a comfortable home looks like, but you know what, all of them got it wrong. I would encourage you to look at this. Embrace the new normal. I say this every other year, but you know what, things are changing. Whether you like it or not, it's going to change, okay? Whether you want to be, you've seen this Naukri ad, right? How that guy, a persona of him is actually dragged in, very reluctantly getting to office. Whether you like it or not, he gets dragged to the office anyway. Instead, why don't you jump in and do it? Right? So I would say get used to the new normal. Actually, it's fun. It's really fun. The one thing I learned from the new normal from 2016, I say it's now become a little bit of a circle. So you still start from the customer. You understand what the influence of customers' buying behavior are, connect to a larger cause, right? Connect to a larger cause, design touch points that customers love and experience, exploit technology, but you know what? Go back to recheck what your customer says. Go back to deepen your understanding of the customer because it's a never-ending game. So that's my learning from being linear to being circular. And if you play this game faster and better, you stay closer to what your clients need, you take a lot of waste out, and you're able to deliver solutions that matter most. Finally, you got to flourish in the new. It's not okay if you drag yourself and get some requirement documents out. You got to flourish. You got to adopt design thinking. You got to sort of be a design thinker. You got to become designers, aspire to become designers, not just business analysts, right? I know there's a next session. Roby is going to talk about design thinking and Scrum from Launch Labs, right? So we worked a lot with them. Can you run? So just to get you inspired that it's possible to do with it. This is a video about it. So this is just to say that you guys can do it. It's not rocket science, okay? By the way, some of the players, if you guys can catch hold of them, they are all here. I see some of the players out here who are there in this video. And it was great fun working there. It was great fun. I would travel, 2 hours each way to do these design thinking workshops, spend 10 to 12 hours always on my feet. And I was very surprised at the end of the day, even after 14 hours a day, I still be very fresh and energized because your continuous stream of creativity kicking in, right? Ask our friends. It is fun. It's great fun to work in a new way, okay? So let me stop here and take some questions. Yes.
My question
So how close can we come to personalization? Individualization. Are you from Accenture? There you go. You see, Accenture has moved away from personalization into individualization. But I think that's the dream, that's the goal we have to get to. Now we have technologies whereby we are no longer having segmentation. We are now dealing with personas, right? A persona, you can have as many personas as you want. Demographics, there's a word called demographics is dead, but personas live. Personas live because they have got emotions, and what you're tracking is emotions. Now there are technologies through which you can now design for experiences. So some of the solutions that we have built is very individualized. Of course, there are steps to get data, to train the models and second guess, but do you know, Amazon knows well before you click buy, it knows that you're going to buy. And the sort of individualization that it does. So it's reality, it's heading that way, but adoption will become more and more. I'm aware of the fact that we are really, really hungry. I am really hungry too, but I'm happy to take questions here and outside. Okay, so I don't want others to wait for us. Okay, one last question.
Thank you for such a knowledgeable session. It was really useful.
Thank you.
I'm Prateek from Fidelity. One basic fundamental question, and I'm sorry if I'm playing spoil sport. Design thinking, I mean, if I consider my perspective, wasn't this something which BAs were always doing? We were always thinking about what customer was doing. So the design part was, my thing was always there. We always thought about the customer before we did any analysis. That was the first and a paramount, it had paramount importance. So we were always doing it. Data obviously came in a little late in the day, but design and the customer empathy, thinking about what customer thinks, what are the personas, that was probably something which we always were doing. I mean, I somehow am not able to fathom why is design thinking becoming a craze, a norm now, when it was something which every BA was supposed to do even like 10 years back.
Okay, let's take a dipstick. How many BAs before 2019 ever did design thinking? Before 2019. How many BAs before 2018 did design thinking? How many people before 2017 did design thinking? All of us are practitioners. And you go out and ask the same question, that's what you'll get. But at the root of it is a very, very, very good question. Why is it relevant now? Same question as why is AI relevant now? It's been there for 30 years. Why is it relevant now? So there are a confluence of factors that is pushing design thinking to be. Number one, every business is changing dramatically, in dramatical ways, and we have handled that. If if you want to look at every business, every industry, every business is changing dramatically. And the biggest worries is that you cannot strategize, and you cannot build for things that you don't know. Most of the senior executives and most of the people in the boardrooms don't know where it's coming. What is the shape of competition? What products and services to go? We are no longer in that linear world where you can plan for 5 years and get things there. It's all, most of NASDAQ companies no longer give forecasts. Why? It's not because they don't want, because they don't know. When you don't know and your conventional model actually going back to the requirements to the customer and telling him, tell me what you guys design for you, how will it work? The customer doesn't know. Nobody knows. And so design thinking is a method which you use to co-develop and co-create and find things along the way. So that's the beauty of design thinking. It helps you to find things out, to explore together and identify. And design thinking is never done by one person. It's always a team of people. And what is the team? It's not all developers. It's not all business analysts. It's always cross-functional. Again, bears to the fact that one person doesn't know the answer. And design thinking gives you methods by which, how do you work with cross-functional teams by using some of the DT methods? Okay? So of course, at an individual level, brainstorming is one of the methods of design thinking, but it's been there for donkey's years. But if you merge design thinking with clustering and then bringing it out with difficulty metrics and then putting it out and creating a journey map out of it and then creating features from there, and then going into under the persona's skin and then figuring out with an empathy map to figure out, really, does this matter? Does this feature matter? That's delivering experiences. And that's why design thinking has become important, not because design thinking is anything great, but given the world that we are in, given that many people don't know what to go where next, and no persons can give you exact requirements, design thinking arms you with the abilities to extract requirements which are almost there, so that the conventional model will fail miserably. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Can I take a question? Thank you.